Welcome to the Get Unbusy Podcast. I'm your host, Kate Philpott, and this podcast is all about throwing your busy work out the window. You deserve to stay locked in on the parts of your business that light a fire under your hoo-ha, all right? The passion-driven freedom lifestyle, not being glued to your laptop every waking minute of the day. It's time to build a business that works for you, not one that works you into the ground. So, let's get unbusy, shall we? Hello and welcome back to the Get Unbusy Podcast. I'm your host, Kate Philpott, and we've got quite the episode for you today because I'm actually joined by our first ever guest of the podcast, Lexi Johnson. Hello.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely delighted. Lexi is a human design coach and energy guide, and she hosts both in-person and virtual workshops to teach people about their human design energy, which I'm obsessed with. Her passion lies in the children, like the next generation, and working with families to help support their child in becoming who they were designed to be in this lifetime. And I'm sorry, but that is just one of the most beautiful things and purposes I've ever heard. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Oh,
I'd love for us to first of all cover like what actually is human design for, anybody who's kind of new to the whole concept.
yeah. So human design is like an esoteric-ish based tool that we can use. We can look up what's called our body graph. And our body graph is made up of all these centers, which are the shapes that you'll see in your chart, and they're connected by channels that are attached to gates, which are all the tiny numbers that you'll see in your chart. But basically, you just need your birth information, like down to the time, and then like the location on where you're born. Because the theory behind human design is that we all like came through a very specific portal. It's very similar to like the astrology energy on how we gather our data for astrology. So we all come through like this very specific portal, and it's not on our birthday. It's like X amount of days before our birthday.
Oh.
So we take into account our birth information on our birthday, and then we also take into account another date information. So if once you pull up your chart, you'll see like your birth data, your birth date, and then you'll see your design date. And we pull those informations from the planet, and then that's where we get like the two sides of information for your chart. Yeah, it's a really great tool to use for how to use your authentic energy in the world. It gives you a map of your authentic and consistent energy that you came here with. It also gives you a map of the energy that you were meant to experience in the world. So how you can connect with other people, how you can learn from maybe the next transit that's coming through, things like that. So yeah, it gives you permission to kind of like be yourself. Maybe gives you permission to be that person that you like deep down know who that person is. And we work a lot on deconditioning. So like stripping away everything that everybody told you that you should do and you should be. And yeah.
It is actually such an interesting thing because I have dived a little bit into my human design and I've just been like, wow, okay, so this is why I'm like this. And like, they might have been parts of me that maybe aren't typical or not expected of you as a person, but it's just like, oh, okay, this is absolutely a permission slip. I also didn't know that about your actual birth date and your design date. I never knew the origin of that.
Yeah, it's really cool. So like when you do look up your chart, you'll see there's two different lines of planets on either side of your chart. On most apps and most websites, it will look like this. Yeah, so there'll be like two different sets of data on the side, and one of them is your actual birthday. That's like your personality, that's your conscious energy, and then one of them is your design date, and that's like theoretically when we like jumped into like the fetus, like in our mom's tummy, and yeah, that date is over on the other side, and that's kind of more of our unconscious energy. So there'll be two different like colors of energy in your chart. We have our conscious and unconscious energy, and sometimes we're more aware of the conscious energy, but sometimes we are like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I knew that about myself, and it's just like really great confirmation to have. I don't
Yeah.
know if I have added your chart to my like network of charts yet. So I would be interested in seeing, because I know you're going to be on my podcast and I'm going to ask some questions for you about your chart. But
Yeah. I know some of the bits like in my head. I know I'm a manifesting generator,
okay.
which makes so much sense
Yeah, no, that
based on
makes
how I
sense.
live.
I could see you being that as well, just based off of your endeavors and things that you're doing.
And also, you know all the arrows at the top?
Yeah.
All of mine are facing left.
Oh, okay. So you're very like routine, structured. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm literally a productivity strategist. That is the most like masculine kind of output, you know?
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Also, you're only a few days before me.
Oh.
I'm an August 29th baby, 24th of a 1990, of the year 1996. We just had St. Patrick's Day in the United States.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder if you guys have any thoughts. Like, I'm curious, like, what do you think of Americans celebrating St. Patrick's Day?
I don't really have thoughts. I'm like, why not? Let's all
Yeah,
get involved. Like it's
cool.
not, you know. And I do get it because, you know, if we're going down into history, like a lot of Irish people left to go to America years and years and years ago. So
Yeah,
it kind of makes sense. But I feel like you
yeah.
might celebrate it more than we do
Probably.
sometimes.
No, we're like obnoxious about everything. I feel so. Um, okay, you are a manifesting generator, yeah. And you have some openness too that could be like important to touch on as well.
What does that mean?
Openness, like open centers in your chart. So you have an open emotional,
Uh,
an open heart space, an open identity center, and then also your head spaces are open. So for a manifesting generator, like that's a decent amount of like openness in your chart. And yeah, just like being able to absorb the energy from other people in those centers, it can be distracting for like your main energy purpose
yes,
type of thing.
that
So,
definitely sounds bang on.
and like knowing too that like the emotional center is like the biggest one that I always am trying to work on with like, and also sometimes like the throat and the head space, but the emotional center can be the most distracting, especially if it's coming from other people and not yours. So, making sure that those emotions that you're feeling are more so like you're honoring them and like letting them pass through you versus trying to like cling to them and understand them, because they're most likely not coming from like inside, they're coming from your external environment. So yeah, just knowing that like those aren't meant to be your teachers necessarily for like your path. Those are maybe teachers for other people, and how that's how you can connect with people around you as well.
Oh, that feels so liberating.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I love that. Is there anything that you can learn from your human design that relates to how you work best, like how busy or not busy you should be?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that for like how busy or not busy you should be, I would look at your sacral center and if it's defined or if it's open. People with defined sacral centers, so those would be generators and manifesting generators, they're going to have this like battery, like an internal battery that they run off of. And the best way for them to feel like they have enough energy in order to like use their battery is to first of all take care of their bodies. Like their vessel is like, obviously for everybody this is super important, but for people that have sacral energy, this is also, it's like it's so important to be able to take care of your body so you can listen to your gut, so you can follow your gut. You know what lights you up, you know what pulls you forward, you know what like is igniting that like energy in your sacral center. And also to make sure that you're using your energy on the things that you love. If you're using your battery like at a 9 to 5 with people that like aren't in alignment with you, then you're going to start to feel burnt out so much quicker than if you would have just maybe waited to spend your energy on that thing that you love to do. And like sometimes we don't have like that luxury. So taking time to make sure that you do spend your battery on like hobbies or like going and doing your own thing that you just absolutely love to do. Like you have to fit that into your day. Because then some like by the end of the day, your battery might not actually be empty, even though you're tired. Like you're exhausted, your body's exhausted, but your battery is like you might not sleep that well that night if you haven't actually used your energy properly.
I'm like, call me out. Jeez.
So it's just like a vicious cycle at that point. Like, and then you wake up and your
Yeah.
battery's not full, and then you like aren't going to use it on the stuff that you love again. And then that's how a lot of like generator burnout will happen. It's different for, so like on the flip side, for people that have open sacral center. So that's going to be projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. They will sample that sacral energy from their environment. So making sure that projectors, manifestors, and reflectors are spending time like out and about and doing things and connecting with their people and having conversations and like absorbing like a little bit of energy from their environment is really important. But it's also important to have the time to detox from that time. So like make sure you're not isolating, because then you're not even going to experience that sacral energy. But also make sure you're not like over socializing yourself, because then you're also going to burn out that sacral energy. Whenever there's a center that's open, especially for some reason in our lower centers, like the emotional and sacral center, it will amplify that energy that it's absorbing. So it can feel like a lot more buzzy or a lot more like deep, heavy wave, or rather than having it be a consistent energy that you feel all the time, it's like something that you're just sampling. So, in pertaining to like doing things and how busy you should or shouldn't be, I always kind of like to look at your sacral.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like if it's new to somebody, it might take a little bit of trial and error to kind of figure out where the balance is, but it's actually wild. Like even so obviously me being a manifesting generator and the part that you said with the sacral energy there in my membership and in my content and stuff, I tend to talk about like, okay, so we're gonna do this stuff to reclaim time, but then like what are you gonna do with that time? And I've hosted sessions on like your fiery passions and bucket list stuff, because I'm like, the stuff that lights you up, it's so, I just get so excited about it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Like that's like you speaking to all the generators out there. And like generators and manifesting generators make up about 70% of like the population. And then the other types will make up like the rest of it, with reflectors being like a super small amount. It's like 1 or 2% are reflectors. And
Oh,
reflectors have all open centers. So that's very unique, very an interesting like aura.
yeah.
They end up being like when you run into somebody, it ends up being like either you can tell that they like are not surrounding themselves with the right people like instantly, or you can almost like feel yourself like with them.
Oh,
Like if they're kind of like being in, if they're living in alignment with like who they are, they're such a great like mirror reflector, like mirror, they will mirror their environment. So yeah, being able to see like yourself in somebody else is really cool, as well as like the collective environment that they are a part of.
I didn't realize they were so rare.
Yeah. I know. I know like a handful of reflectors. And it's hard to do like generalized readings for them. You kind of have to give like the reflector spiel and then like go into their different gates to give them like their consistent energy on what they get to work with. And yeah, their chart will be activated like mostly by the sun and the moon as they move through their transits.
Interesting. And if someone feels stuck in their business or even their life, is there a part of their chart that they should explore to kind of help them get back into what feels like flow?
Yeah. I would say look for your signature in your human design. So this is going to be attached to your aura type. So generators, manifesting generators, their signature is to feel joy, satisfaction, and their not self is to feel like frustrated or it's interesting that you use the word stuck because it's like frustrated, stuck, or just like slow moving, especially for manifesting generators. Manifesting generators are very fast. They're very quick pace. So if you're feeling slow or stuck or frustrated, then you know like something needs to shift, something needs to change. So look for your signature and follow what your like main energy center is going to be. So it's usually you're going to be your sacral for generators. Find something that fully lights you up, like fully just like ignites that sacral, what is going to pull you forward. And if you haven't been practicing this like naturally by yourself, it can be hard to like flex this muscle and just practice this. But yeah, following like for generators, following your sacral on whatever it is that's going to bring you back into that signature state that you feel that you're supposed to be feeling like. So satisfied, joyful, just filled with that energy. For projectors are meant to be seen and feel success. So projectors can actually see others very well, but they have a hard time seeing themselves and recognizing themselves. And that's kind of like the twist to it, because once we do recognize and see ourselves, then all of those invitations that we've been waiting for are going to start flowing in. And we'll be able to use our energy to actually guide somebody rather than use our energy in a space that's it's not maybe like invited in, and people will be like, whoa, 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 we didn't ask you, like, why are you stepping in, like and telling us all of these things that like we don't want to hear yet. So projectors will tend, their not self theme is they tend to feel like bitter. So like bitterness around just like over maybe overstepping where they're going to share their guidance and share what they see so clearly. They're like, you guys, like if you just like change this and this and this around, you'll be so like, it'll be so great. And yeah, just waiting until the right moment to interject. And like, even if you're just like invited into that space already, that invitation can stay open. And as long as the invitation doesn't close itself, like you can continue to provide your guidance. Manifestors tend to feel angry, like just like mad, when they're in their not self, and their signature is to feel peace. So when they're feeling like angry, check who they're allowing into their energy, who they're allowing into their circle. Their aura is naturally very closed. So like once you're in that circle, it's a very like safe, peaceful place to be. But if something like throws it off, if something like is, yeah, just off, they'll start to feel it. They'll start to feel angry because they're supposed to be using their voice to initiate things. And if they're using their voice to initiate things and someone in that circle is like, no, like that's not like what I came here for, like for that, I didn't come here for that, like whatever it is, manifestor is going to be like, okay, well, but like fuck off then, like fuck you, like this is not, I'm not entertaining like any of this. So they just kind of like close off. Their aura is very close. They'll close off, they'll get angry. And so just like coming back to that state, that signature state. So again, for generators, it'll be satisfaction or joy. For projectors, it'll be recognition and success. For manifestors, it's peace. And then for reflectors, it's, what's the word? Delight. It's like surprise, like surprisingly delighted by the energy around you.
So cute.
Yeah, isn't that cute? I know, reflectors are just like adorable. I want to have more of them around me.
I'm sure I know a reflector, but I don't know that they're a reflector. But now I know what to look for.
Randomly, my cousin is a reflector. And then I want to say like one of my close-ish friends, and then a few people that I've worked with. So, yeah.
Can I ask you,
Yeah.
are you like when you accidentally find out someone's birthday, are you like like looking at their chart?
Yeah, I would definitely was like that at the beginning. But now that I do this like more often for like work,
Yeah.
I'll usually wait until somebody like will be like, "Oh, can you look it up for me?" And then I'm like, "Hell yeah." But
Yeah.
if they haven't like fully like because I'm a projector. So if they haven't like fully invited me to like look up their chart, I'm not about to be like, "Hey, here this is your chart energy and like da 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 da," and like because I've done that before. And they're half, I mean sometimes it's fun, but the other half the time it's like they're like, "Cool. Like didn't ask for that, but okay."
Fair enough. I could
So
just imagine you being like knowing kind of what a person's like and then seeing their chart and being like, checks out.
no, yeah, there's definitely things where I'm like, they have to have that gate. They have to have that energy center, like projecting energy onto me right now. Like, what is this coming from?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's so interesting. So we had mentioned before coming on like the being conditioned to behave in a certain way and like conditioned by external expectations. I'm wondering, is there a specific part of the human design chart that can show someone where they might be most conditioned or if they are easily conditioned by external stuff? Like, and when
yeah.
I say external stuff, obviously I'm mainly thinking of that pressure to like always be productive, always be doing or busy, because that tends to be what I'm working with over here.
I could see that being something that you have going on. I'm just looking at like the root center because the pressure to like stay busy and like do all of the things is in the root center. And yours is like defined. You actually have all of your energy centers like connecting as well. So this is like this is called single definition. And when they all connect, they can all communicate with each other, just the ones you have defined. So your root
Okay.
is actually connected to like your spleen, and then your spleen is connected to your throat, and then the throat and the spleen are both connected to the sacral. So they all are able to like flow energy like within between it themselves. And that can be helpful for like making a decision because you may or may not need to bounce your ideas off of somebody else versus like if you had split definition. So like some centers up here are defined and some centers over here are defined, but they don't like connect to each other. You might need to be around somebody that will help you bridge that energy together so you can kind of like make sense of something that you weren't able to make sense of all by yourself. The cool thing about human design is it encourages us to connect with others and to explore those parts of our chart that we don't have consistent energy in. What you had said about like where do we usually hold our conditioning, it's definitely going to be it can be anywhere in our chart, but I always like to first look at our open centers. So for example, for you, you have an open emotional, like we had talked about, open heart/ego space, open identity, and then open head, third eye, like head spaces up here. And having those like open centers, I mean, I could like go through some specifics if you want of like a couple. Do you have like a question on? We could do like the open emotional that's common and maybe the open head spaces.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are like pretty common. So like I feel like whoever was listening, they might. So about half of the population has an open emotional. The other half is defined. So having an open emotional center is a place where we can hold conditioning from our environment, because we're going to absorb those emotions from the other people that are around us. So absorbing emotions, they amplify, like I said before. So they amplify. It's almost like a times 10, like whirlwind once you come in contact with this energy. And then once you absorb that energy and it's like in your flow system in your body, you can feel it like it's like they're your emotions. They actually like they feel like they're coming from you, but they're actually coming from your external environment. So usually, like people with open emotional centers need to take like a step back and go like retreat and like feel fine again. Like once they has spent enough time by themselves, they're like, okay, what was that? I don't even know. I feel better. I'll go back. And like just knowing that like those emotions are not yours to like process and learn from, versus somebody that has emotional authority and will actually like use their emotions as their intuition, as their teacher, as like something that's like emotional authority is hard because you never for sure 100% know everything. But going through an emotional wave is like a really intense experience that is a huge teacher. And so that's not what it's like for having like an open emotional center. It's not meant to be a huge teacher. You're mostly meant to experience and sample and get a taste of what these emotions are feeling like. And then once you go back and connect with your environment, you can say like, oh, like I see what was happening here. Like I was absorbing this energy from this person. And like sometimes it's a transit, but it's mostly intense, more intense from a person. And that's how you can connect with other people too. So if you're able to confront those emotions and confront the situation without feeling like you're crossing boundaries or like without feeling like you're going to put yourself in a situation that's obviously like don't obviously confront somebody if you would be putting yourself in danger.
Yeah.
But avoiding confrontation and the truth is something that people with open emotional centers will tend to do. And it's something you have to learn how to confront people about these things. And you don't have to say like, I have an open emotion center. I know that you were feeling like this and that it was amplified in me and now I'm feeling like this. Like just being aware and just knowing that that's where your open centers are, you can start to strip away what's not yours. As for like headspace, open headspaces, a lot of people will have this as well. An open headspace is gonna like allow those thoughts and like heady energy to like come in. This can lead to a lot of like overthinking, anxiety, like needing to know, just like needing to know the answers. And
Sorry, I'm giggling. I'm like, yeah, hit me with it. Call me
just like
out.
intensely relating.
Aggressively relating, yeah.
I know. I have an open headspace as well. So it's like just being okay with like that's a gift. Okay. It can be a gift. It can be a gift that we overanalyze. It can be a gift that we overthink. It can be a gift that we need to know all of the answers. But like allowing yourself just to like feel the wonder and feel like the anticipation and like like let's lean into more of like what that feels like versus more of like needing to know the specific answer. Because that's a sensation, that's a feeling that like we're meant to feel. Our openness is also for us. So it's meant for us to feel the gift from those areas, not the heavy, like, I want to say toxic, but sometimes it's not, just like energy from other people that we've been absorbing that's like not ours. We're meant to experience that, but we're not meant to hold on to it. We're not meant to cling to it. We're not meant to be like, it's fleeting. So anytime something is fleeting energy, like we tend as humans to like want to grasp to it, like an emotion, like a good emotion. We want to like grasp to that. And all of a sudden, like once it slips away, like we feel some type of way about it. But that's not the point. The point is to feel it in that moment and let it pass and move on. Let it teach you whatever it needs to teach you. So just being so aware of those open centers in your chart can really help you start the deconditioning process.
Yeah.
And yeah, just knowing where you hold that openness and where you're meant to either experience your consistent energy and like learn to listen to your consistent energy, or just sample and have fun and experience that openness that you get to experience when you're here. And don't let that cloud your actual authentic energy.
Yeah. Oh, this is so interesting. So how do you know when it's coming from you or if it's coming externally? Can you know? Is it like an intuitive thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say just knowing like your chart energy, like the mechanisms of your chart energy will help, like just keeping it in the back of your mind. Like, oh, I know my partner has, and I love doing connection readings too. So being able to be
Yeah.
like, oh, I know that my partner has an open emotional and I know that I am emotional. So when I'm experiencing an emotional wave, it's going to be really good for me to communicate that with my partner, and knowing that like hey, I'm feeling like this right now, like I'm going to communicate that with you so that if you tend to be feeling the same way, like maybe you'll know that that's coming from like my aura. We can spend a little time apart. We can like come back to our own energy before we allow that to spark a conversation that may or may not end well. So
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. And like, especially working with like your children, like if your child has an open emotional center and all of a sudden starts throwing a fit, acting out, like check and see like what you might be projecting onto them at that point. Like, are you an emotional being? Are you going through a wave right now? And is your child like fully picking up on that? Like, are you in a public place? Like, who have they been hanging out with? Like that little kid over there? Like, like what's going on here? So, just kind of like being aware and knowing is the first step. And then you do have to kind of like come back to your authentic energy. Like, let's like think about, okay, what's my authentic energy? What's my consistent energy? Because all of these other energies, it's not that we're not meant to feel them. It's just that we're meant to feel them inconsistently. We don't need to
yeah.
hold on to them.
Yeah, no, it's actually so like that is fascinating. You can actually use this in so many different areas. Like I never even thought of in relationships or like between parent and child. Like that is just fascinating. And everything in human behavior. I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but I studied psychology in college. So I'm just fascinated by human behavior in general. And literally all of it comes down to the why behind it. One of my modules was criminal psychology, right? And there was essentially the whole nature versus nurture debate. Like, are you the way you are because you were born like that and it's in your genes, or are you the way you are because of your experiences? And the answer is like, it depends. But it did just make me think. I know it's the most annoying answer ever, but it did just make me think you really can't fully judge anyone for behaving in any way, because if you were born in their circumstances and had every single life experience that they did, you would also react to that situation the same way, or you would also behave that same way.
Hmm.
You know, I was only just thinking about this morning. That's why it's coming up now. But
Yeah, you can like see it in their energy chart. Like if you actually pull up a chart and like look at it and then look at maybe their life experiences and you're like, wow, you have been living like this and you went through this and like now you're acting like this. Like it only makes sense, you know? So,
yeah, it's like, of course. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that it's an interesting idea. I was just talking with my partner the last night. We were on a little walk with the doggy. We were looking at the stars, and we were like, "Wow, you can see the stars tonight." It's a very rare occasion in LA, but I live by the ocean, so you can usually see it like just looking over the ocean this way, and then like looking inland, like you can't really see any stars. But we're seeing the stars, and we're like, "Oh wow, they look great." And I was like, "Yeah." We're like one of the last generations that are going to be able to remember what the stars looked like, what the sky looked like without satellites, without these
Oh my
fake
God.
like
Yeah.
things in the sky. So studying the stars it's going to be different. It's going to be like how are we going to be eventually be able to like even see real stars anymore? Are they going to be like satellites in the sky? Like, and now I'm thinking, I'm like, does that change like
Yeah.
our like charts
Yeah. Like,
at all? Would that change like our energy? I feel like it would change our energy. It would, I wonder like the compounds, like the chemical, I don't know if chemical, like the geological, like are there crystals up there? Do you know what I mean? Like how a lot of electronics are made with like stuff from the earth, like crystals essentially. Like there's quartz in our computers and like other random shit. Like up in the sky, is that would that be something that's gonna affect the energy coming down?
it would
Like,
have to, right?
right? It would have to.
Whoa,
Um,
I'm gonna be going down a whole rabbit hole
I
after
love
this.
rabbit holes. They're my favorite
Same.
thing.
I want to know the answers.
Yes, I have a whole section. Just finished creating my website.
Yay.
And it was so fun to figure everything out. And like now I know like how the back end of it works. But I figured out how to create a little portal. So like you can log in, you can have a portal. There's like little chat rooms, different groups that you can chat in and share stuff
Ah.
with. But I have a section called the rabbit hole, and that's just going to be like a free resource library. So
Have
yeah,
fun.
I know, right?
I
It'll be
love
fun.
that.
You should come join. I don't have anybody in there yet because it's so new, but
Oh, I will
yeah.
throw some like conspiracies in there.
Yes.
So you have a podcast as well, which we'll be having another conversation on. But do you want to give a little nugget or two about what the concept of your podcast is?
Yeah. Yeah. So, podcast is called Educating Earthlings. It's a human design, science, education, spiritual based podcast. And I will talk about a lot of different things. But when I have guests on, I'll feature the guest and I'll say like, "Hey, this is Kate and this is what she does and this is her chart energy and wow, look, it's so cool that she uses her energy with her business or she uses her energy with her creative endeavors and her art and whatever she's making." And like this is like very notable in her chart and like we can like I see her like working with people like this and like it's so in alignment. And usually the people that I have on the podcast are already living like in alignment with their energy just because they figured it out. Most people that have figured it out don't necessarily have that like permission slip maybe yet from their energy that they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah. I knew that about myself."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really fun to have people on and just talk about their energy, get to know them and what they do, their perception bubble of the world. Yeah, it's
Yeah. I
interesting that you
love
have
that.
brought up nature versus nurture because that's like so what human design is all about. It's like the both, everything all together. Yeah.
Beautiful. It is actually the biggest permission slip. It's something you don't realize you need the permission slip until you get it and you're like, oh, I can be me and I'm actually supposed to be this way. I'm not broken. I'm not like, there's nothing wrong with me. Hallelujah.
Yeah, the
Amen.
reassurance.
Yeah.
They're just reassurance of like, oh, I am who I am and I'm doing what I need to be doing. I'm doing what I should be doing, and look at me go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. This has been so fascinating. Lexi, I'm going to be re-listening to this. I'm going to be taking notes. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, for sure. I thank you so much for having me, and I'm excited to have you on Educating Earthlings as well.
Yes. I'll have that linked in the show notes as well for those of
Okay.
you listening.
Okay, cool. Awesome. But I was going to say, is since like you're going to be on my podcast, like you're going to still learn a little bit more like about your chart. But I would, if you're interested, like I would love to do like a reading for you or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm so fascinated in learning more about this because it always just gives me the biggest kick, you know?
Yeah, and it can be so helpful too, like working with people and like even like personal life, partners, siblings, parents.
Oh my God, there's so many like facets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. We will wrap it up. Those of you listen, I will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
All right, gorgeous. That's a wrap on today's episode of the Get Unbusy podcast. If you got some juicy golden nuggets from this episode, I want to hear about it. So take a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, and tag me at More to Life Kate, because your girl wants to know. And remember, you're an absolute powerhouse. You can create the life you've been dreaming of, and I can't wait to see you pop off. Chat to you soon. Bye.